Welcome to this module. Here we're going to be speaking a little bit about fear of letting people down and how that can be holding us back, and how we can alchemize that fear, how we can really start to tune into when is a good time to care and nurture for people in really nourishing ways, and when is a time that that starts to become a bit distorted and a bit wonky, and we end up self-sacrificing in order to care for people, or the fear of letting them down is actually interfering with what is needing to happen, what wants to come through us, what wants to be experienced through us. And I'm also going to link this to responsibility and breaking down a little bit about what your relationship to responsibility might be, and just purifying that and starting to bring it into our awareness in a different way so that you can work with responsibility in a really conscious way, in a really in a way that really brings presence to how you are showing up in your life. And so we want to sort of alchemize and move through these layers so that we can show up from a place of really like aligned responsibility and really I could say aligned nourishing people, aligned caring for people in a way that serves them and actually serves us too. And so when we start to make big changes in our lives, when we start to show up in new ways that start to really honor ourselves, our goals, our desires, our healing path, our expansion, our awakening, whatever it is that you're here to potentially move towards, we can feel a little bit of a pushback from the people around us, or we can feel a little bit of a wobble sometimes, because we have often been fulfilling a role for somebody. And when we start to change our blueprint or our frequency, it actually impacts them. And then when we get that feedback from those people, our nervous systems, or a layer of us, or our trauma, or parts of ourselves will say, oh my gosh, this is not okay. I'm not safe because I'm getting this feedback that somebody's not happy with me. And so then we correct and we go back to old ways of being, because it keeps the peace. It keeps everybody around us comfortable because it's familiar. Our way of showing up is familiar. And so it's comfortable to everybody. We try to insert something new and everybody's like, whoa, who's this person who says no? Or who's this person who honors themselves and doesn't come to the thing? Blah, 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 whatever the story is. We insert a new energy, and then everybody's kind of like, let's call it dysregulated around this newness. And I want you to remember that change is inevitable, and change is a part of life. Change is a part of growth and transformation. So if you truly are desiring to shift something in your life, you're going to have to be okay. And when I say be okay, I don't mean that you have to like it, but you're going to have to locate the fortitude and the strength to be able to be okay with a little bit of discomfort as the people around you orient to this new version of yourself. And the people that are for you, the people that are for this newer version of yourself, let's call it, they're gonna adapt with you. They're gonna grow with you. They're gonna be like, oh, wow, thank you for bringing this into my field of awareness, that this pattern maybe wasn't working for us, or this, thank you for speaking up and showing up in a different way, because it's actually how I felt and I didn't have the courage to show up in that way, but watching you do it is giving me permission. Those are the fractal families. Remember when I talked about fractal families and fear of the past and who's bringing you, the next experience is coming forward? Like, these fractal people will evolve with you. And the people that end up falling to the wayside aren't necessarily for the evolution. And I am not going to be flippant about that. Sometimes it's very painful because we can love people dearly that we need to let go of, or that let go of us. And this is sort of like a whole other training per se, or a whole other discussion. But know when I say the people that are for you will come with you and support you, and the people that aren't will fall by the wayside, it sounds like a very easy concept. And I completely have reverence and understanding for how confronting that can actually be. But if you want to change, you're going to have to be okay with a little bit of like pushback sometimes. And we have to learn to hold the line. Now, if you've come from an experience, or if you've experienced experiences in your life, or you come with some traumas that potentially lend itself to like a fawning response in the nervous system, this can be really challenging, because if we're fawning, obviously it's nuanced and there's multiple layers that this could show up. But if we're fawning in life and in circumstances, it can often mean that we have this story that I am okay, I am safe, I can feel peace, I can feel regulated, I can feel joy, happiness, whatever it is that we think we can feel, only when everybody else is okay. So I have to make everybody else be okay so that I can experience okayness. So it becomes like conditional. Your okayness becomes conditional on everybody else's okayness. And then what happens there is that we actually start to lose access to the ability to be okay in discomfort, to move in ways that actually really serve us, even if the other person might not feel the same way in that moment. So we actually become able to locate like personal power, not circumstantial power, because circumstantial power is when a circumstance has to arrive in order for us to feel a certain way. So when we have a fear of letting people down, whatever way this arrives at you, whether it arrives through a traumatic life experience where fawning's present, wherever, or whether it arrives to you because you actually just like love caring for people and it really lights you up and it brings you so much joy, great. But where is that bleeding into things that is preventing you from seeing where it might actually be holding you back? Because you're like, I genuinely like, genuinely like caring for people. And I want them to be happy because it brings me so much joy. So in doing that, in bringing everybody joy, then I'm joyful. And that's great. That can be true to a degree, but where are you actually abandoning self because you're too focused on this? So we can feel a lot of guilt when we start to pursue things that we want because we're afraid that we're letting people down, or we're afraid that we're going to be considered selfish. And you may have received that feedback. It's like when you start caring for yourself in certain ways, people can give feedback that it's selfish. You should be caring about something else in a different way. And locate the truth of that for you. Are you becoming completely self-obsessed and selfish? Because that can actually happen. And you can go to the opposite end of the spectrum, sometimes just to feel it so we can locate the two polarities and find the middle way. If that's true, don't bring any judgment into the space around yourself, just simply notice it. But sometimes when we receive the feedback that we're being selfish, it's actually just because somebody else's preference, somebody else's perception of us, or the role that we've served for them is changing and they don't like it. And this is going to sound incredibly insensitive, but like, it's not your problem. And yes, you could say, well, maybe I'm in a really deep relationship with this person. It is my problem. It's your experience to work through and deal with. But if you're part of your dharma is to change and evolve and grow in the ways that you are seeking to, then it is not your problem in the sense that it's not for you to resolve for this other person. They are on their own karmic path, dharmic path. This is part of their own lesson to either evolve, grow with you, expand with you, or not learn the lesson that could potentially be here for them. So with so much love, I say it's not your problem, even if there's things that you have to deal with around it. But when we feel guilty for taking action, we can really let go of the things that we want to call forward. So the guilt can actually prevent us from doing things, so we stay where we are. And then guilt can also become a driver. It's like, where is guilt driving you to show up? Where are you showing up for people from a place of guilt around this? And you don't want guilt to be the driver of your actions. Imagine if the driver of your actions got to be rooted in trust, rooted in safety, and this knowing that when I serve myself, I'm actually serving the collective. That's possible. And I'm going to break down why that is possible and why I believe that to be true. So let me just check my notes here before I carry on. Yeah, when you have a caring nature, when you want to serve the collective or the tribe, we can sometimes lose contact with the truth that you're actually here to evolve as the individual too, to differentiate. We need differentiation so that we can fill the story of humanity. We need all these different layers of everything so that all of humanity can express itself fully. So you in your individual expression is actually serving the collective because it lights other things up in people. It shows people a different way. They get to see you in your authenticity. And even though their authenticity may look different, it's not about what the action does. It's like the frequency of authenticity gives other people permission to do the same. But if you don't do the thing because you're like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to let this person down if I pursue something, we're missing the point entirely because we actually serve the collective by being ourselves. We illuminate something that it can only be illuminated through you. We illuminate that so that it can light the path for other people. So the courage that we locate here within this module is about letting go. Like, how can I hold, and not letting go as in I'm not going to care about anybody. It's how can I hold it more loosely? How can I not grip to this responsibility for others that I feel? Where is responsibility for others getting in the way of you locating the responsibility that you carry for yourself? The responsibility that you hold to live this life to the full width that you came here to live it, to the full height that you came here to express it and feel it and expand into. So where are you losing responsibility to self when you are too focused on what your perceived responsibility is to other humans? And immediately my thought pattern goes into parents here and mothers. We're responsible for our little humans. Absolutely we are. We brought them into the world. But us not executing whatever we need to execute to the degree that we possibly can, depending on what phase of life you're at with that little one, because we say like, my responsibility is totally just for them. And me not pursuing my goals, dreams, desires, happiness is not important anymore because that's more important. What are you teaching that human? I think there's a quote that Jung says that like, I'm not going to say this verbatim, but like one of the most psychologically like challenging things for a child is to experience a parent that has a life unlived, the unlived life of the parent. That's a challenge for the child. Because one, maybe we put so much pressure on them to go and live the life we never lived, or there's resentment in our systems, or whatever it is. And maybe I need to do like a parenting a class. So I won't dive too deep into the parenting layer of this, but I just really want you to understand that the idea of being responsible for everybody else, being responsible for everybody else's experience in life is not serving you if you are not present to the responsibility that you carry in this life to be a response-able adult for yourself and what is coming through you, what you came here to express and experience and to be. So let's just like go back into responsibility and just get curious about how it could show up in two ways. Sometimes we abdicate and run away from responsibilities entirely. We're like not responsible for that, and we like bypass our responsibility for anything. We like not my problem it to the umpteenth degree and just disconnect and disassociate from things. Blame, 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 victim, victim, victim. That can be one way that it shows up. And another way is that we become overly responsible. We take on the burdens and duties that are not ours to carry. And again, that could come to us through trauma in life. So with no shame, no judgment, we just want to locate where we are in the journey. But when we take on too many responsibilities for other people, When we're like, quote unquote, protecting them from life and being super responsible for everything they're experiencing, not wanting them to be hurt in any way, not wanting them to be challenged, not wanting them to have to meet the experience that's in front of them, we're actually preventing them from taking on their own responsibility, living out their own lessons, learning for themselves. We're standing in the way of them having to locate courage for themselves. And not to say like, now you're robbing people. You're not needing to shame yourself for it. But if we can actually start to remember that my highest timeline, even if it causes somebody else a little bit discomfort, is supporting their highest timeline too, because we rise together. And even if there is discomfort in the moment, they can actually go on to learn the lesson that they need to learn. They can go on to choose. They're the choice maker. They have will. How they want to show up for this experience they're having with perhaps something that you're doing causing them comfort. So if your growth is, discomfort, if your growth is causing them discomfort, they get to have choice in how they show up there. And if we're too overly responsible for people, we're robbing them of that. So this has really helped my nervous system actually settle. It's like when I say no to something that's not in alignment for me, even though it may cause a little bit of a kickback from somebody else in that moment, it's just temporary, because they could actually go on to have a very different experience because I don't go to something or I don't meet them for the coffee. Maybe they bump into somebody and meet the love of their life because I said no to something. And let's say the lesson never comes. Maybe their lesson is, can I be okay with my preferences not being mad? Like maybe that's the lesson they get from it. Who knows? But it's not your responsibility to locate the lesson for them before you acknowledge what it is that you need to do for yourself. So again, just take some time to locate where you fall within the spectrum of abdicating, running away from responsibility, or becoming overly responsible. Just as information, where are you in the spectrum? And that can change throughout life, but where are you right now? So back to locating the courage here for yourself. This is around what it feels like to hold things lightly and to let go. Letting people learn lessons. The fear of letting people down is because you care, but don't let that limit you from what you're here to do. Because ultimately, when you serve yourself, you're serving the collective. If you're serving yourself from a really heart-centered, aligned place, we're not causing harm for no reason. That's my dog, with that, if you can hear that. So just asking yourself, like, is this truly my responsibility? Whose problem is it? Whose experience is it to experience? Because sometimes there really is no problem. It's just something we need to move through. So sometimes the greatest gift that you can give people is loving them in a space that they just actually need to surrender into, fall, learn the lesson. Give them the space. It's not your responsibility. And then when you've located for yourself your own response-able nature, so let's say we locate our essential self, we locate centeredness. Then from that place, we get to show up and nurture people and care for people from a place of my cup is overflowing or my cup isn't empty. And I'm super happy to do this because it actually serves me in a really good way. But not that like my cup is only starting to overflow or my cup is only good or my nervous system is only good when you are. Yes, I can see and witness discomfort in somebody else and be deeply upset by it. I care about people deeply. And the friends that I really treasure and value, when they're hurting, I hurt, but I walk with them beside it. I don't try to fix it for them. It's not my responsibility. And if where I need to go in life causes somebody a little bit of a contraction point, it's like, where can we sit down and have really good conversation about it? Because it's what I actually need to do. It's going to serve me deeply. And how can they meet me there? And it becomes a co-creative experience, but it's not your responsibility to play small so that everybody around you stays comfortable in the way that things were, because sometimes the way that things are actually aren't even that great for everybody. Maybe that blowing up of a relationship because you want something new is the best gift they could ever receive, even though they're going to blame you in the beginning. Right? So just knowing that, letting go of the responsibility for other people's experiences, letting go of that to whatever degree that you're able to is a really, really beautiful place to start. Starting to explore what boundaries look like for ourselves. Boundaries, again, are more like things that we want to apply for ourselves, not something that everybody else has to honor. We can set asks to people from our boundaries. It's like, okay, I'm not in a space, my boundary is like, I'm not going to be in a space where anybody's yelling at me. So we can't say to someone, you can never yell at me. But we can say, okay, this is my boundary with myself. And now I can let you know that like, I am not going to stay in a space where somebody's yelling at me. And so if you continue to yell at me, I'm going to remove myself from this space. Boundaries aren't things that we just walk around directing people how to treat us, because we can't actually control how people treat us. So start locating some energetic boundaries for yourself and then show up for them for yourself. Build trust with yourself this way. Learning to let go of everybody else's experiences being your responsibility, giving people the freedom to explore their path, their issue, releasing the need to fix. This takes courage, especially if you've shown up in your life as a people pleaser, if you have fawning in your system, if you're a deeply empathetic, caring, compassionate person. But the empathy, being an emotional empath, being empathetic, I hear this word a lot, and it's not that I don't appreciate that, because I can deeply feel what other people are experiencing. But I do not want to let you lose yourself in this story that I'm an emotional empath and it's too much for me to feel what other people are feeling. So I just have to do everything to keep them happy, because ultimately it makes me feel better because it's too intense to feel everybody else's feelings. That story will keep you stuck in not doing anything that could cause discomfort for other people that might actually serve you. So if that's you in any way, I'm not saying that like empathy and being an empath isn't a thing, because it truly is. And in human design, we can be empaths in multiple different ways, depending on where your openness is. But let's not lose ourselves and lose access to our creative agencies because of it. We can just set different boundaries. There's practices that you can use. There's ways we can show up that can support that. We can simply just choose to like not take everything on. We can become the observer of, not the sponge of. And that can take practice for sure, but don't lose yourself in the story. Okay, so let's just start to be really conscious about noticing, where do I actually like navigate myself in certain ways? Where do I show up in ways? Where do I not say things that I want to say? Where do I not do something that I want to do because I'm afraid of how it will impact other people, even if it's just a judgment, and then you don't want to receive that judgment. It's like, oh, you aren't somebody who takes those lessons, or you're not somebody who takes singing lessons or dancing lessons or goes on a trip like that. That's silly. Notice where that comes in for you. And then it's like not your responsibility to manage their reaction to anything. And then I touched on this earlier, but I want to take it a step further too, is in the same way that we're not allowing other people to take full responsibilities for their lives, if we're constantly like, let's say, protecting them from a certain emotion or a certain feeling that's coming through, where are we not taking ownership and responsibility for our own lives? Are you taking full responsibility for your own life? That means looking at the places that aren't working, locating where your participation in that and how you're showing up for that is unfolding. No judgment here. There are times in my life where I have located where I am allowing something to continue and allowing something to perpetuate. And I was present to it for honestly over a year before I was able to begin to take action. So I'm not saying like just sit back and just notice it and that's it, but awareness is the entry point. And sometimes the awareness will start bringing us the experiences we need to gain the strength and gain the courage to show up for that experience in a different way. And sometimes it's not immediate. Sometimes there needs to be a playing out of certain things. So we want to trust the divine timing of things. This is why I don't believe it's like fuck fear and blow up your life all the time, because sometimes like the actual course of events hasn't unfolded in the perfect way that it needs to in order to serve you well. So there isn't like a steadfast rule of like, if you notice it, act. If you don't, wait 2 weeks. Like I can't give you the linear timeline. It's nuanced, but we locate when we start tuning into the wisdom within, we start actually looking at things from a really honest place, a good perspective. Oh yeah, I'm definitely contributing to that over there. I'm playing a role in something that's not working in my life and I'm choosing not to change it because I actually can't right now. And can I love myself through that? Can I love myself anyways, in spite of that? And the loving of yourself in that will allow you to create the conditions to start changing things, to bring to you whatever it is that you need to start alchemizing whatever it is that caused you to get there in the first place so that you can break the pattern. So where are you taking full responsibility for your own life? Where are you not? Are you activating courage to follow your own directive in life? Sometimes it feels like we're failing other people when we're taking real big actions in our life, when we're taking full responsibility. And sometimes we just need to be slightly isolated when we're making those decisions, not like get rid of anybody, but sometimes, I mean, unless that's what's being called forward, but sometimes we feel isolated when we're making decisions because we have to make them from a place of centeredness. What is it that you want to do with this one wild and precious life? What is it that on like at the end of the road that what's the legacy? What is the experiences that you want to have expressed and experienced and showed up as? Like, are you taking full responsibility for what is there and what's calling you forward and what your soul is yearning for? And like, if you want to look at it from a bigger lens, whatever your perception is, but mine is like, if you don't do it in this lifetime, you're going to come back. So like in one way, it's like, no problem, I'll come back and do it. It's like, but I really want to embrace the lessons that I'm here to learn. I really want to evolve through this so that I get to feel the liberation on the other side. So sometimes, yeah, it feels like I'm letting people down when I change, but it's not my responsibility. What I take responsibility for is showing up in open, honest, communicative ways, staying in integrity, not causing harm where I don't have to cause harm. But that if somebody's preferences aren't met by my actions, then that's not necessarily my problem. Okay. So it can feel like we're failing people, but I promise you, you're not. Because when you're illuminating your path, when you're following your soul curriculum, when you're allowing consciousness and life force to flow through you in the way that it is designed to flow through you, the once in a lifetime cosmic event that you are, your DNA is coded in a way that nothing else and nobody else is. So when you allow your life to flow through you in that way, there is no way that you are not playing the perfect role that you need to play in this lifetime for whatever people you're supposed to support, whatever lessons that you have soul contracted yourself with that person to learn. There is no way that you are not fulfilling your purpose when you are showing up in a way that is authentic and fully expressed from a place of essential self, from a place of soul and heart, not from trauma lens, ego lens, trauma overlay. where hurt people continue to hurt people. That's not what we're talking about here. And then saying it's not my responsibility. You know, that's not what I'm talking about. The more that we locate ourselves, the more that we travel inward, our outward expression of what we've located on the inner journey gets to be authentic, and it will serve the people around you. And that's your responsibility. So where is the fear that I won't locate the courage to fully express myself and take responsibility for my life? Because that unlived life that we sense will cause an ache, and that ache will be present in your relationships. People will pick up on that. So where can we take responsibility for our lives? And what is requiring us to locate some courage right now so that we can just take the next step? It can be terrifying to think about the step that you might see coming in 2 years. Believe me, I get it. So what do I need to take now? What needs tending to now that could serve that? And I'll get there when I get there. But what can I take responsibility for now? Everything is in perfect cosmic order when we start to move from this place and we start to become trusting. We don't bypass, if there's something we need to work through with somebody, we show up for that. But we don't lose ourselves in the process. We don't lose ourselves because we're afraid of letting people down. What is the point? Is that even serving anybody if we lose ourselves in the process? Let that land in your system. If I lose myself in the process, am I actually serving? Are you taking responsibility for your thoughts and your actions? Are you taking responsibility? Are you waiting to be saved? Are you feeling frustrated when nobody's saving you from your own life? Yeah, I've experienced it for sure. So it's very good to notice when that happens because it will give you so much information to work with. And in the noticing of the fact that you're waiting for somebody to save you, you get to notice that and you get to save yourself. So all of these inquiries that I give you here, and I'll drop them into the portal for you to play with, they can be confronting. And I'm not going to ask you to go anywhere that I haven't gone myself. It's yeah, I would really love somebody to save me from this. I would really love somebody to just roll the red carpet out for me and it'd be easy. And I can daydream and fantasize that. Go into that, sure. But don't hold back and wait for that to happen if it's not going to happen. Are you just going to stay where you are forever? So where can we locate the courage? Honestly, here, the courage is where can I locate the courage to just look at this stuff and take honest inventory of where I'm showing up in life, where my responsibility, pendulum is swinging, and where am I selling myself short by perhaps overcaring or telling myself that it's how I'm serving. And I'm so worried about hurting people that I'm just using it as an excuse to play small. So really, where is the fear of being my highest and most powerful self? What am I afraid of? We need you as that. We need you as your highest self. And know that that can look very different for every different person. Not everybody's here to be a entrepreneur. Not everybody's here to be a stay-at-home mom. Not everybody's here to be a boss babe, whatever it is. Not everybody's here to do their highest selves in the way that maybe we have a specific idea of what it is. But whatever it is for you, that's what we need. That's what we need. Locating who you are and what you're here to do. And by do, I actually mean express and be. You can't nurture people fully. You can't support people fully if you aren't in alignment with your highest self and have a filled cup. Okay. Just checking. How do I want to complete this for you? So through this work, We really want to be able to locate the ability to nurture people after we have located how to truly nurture ourselves, so that we have more aligned energy and just life force to give other people. To not let the fear of letting people down hold us back. To not allow the conditional nature of other people's happiness be how you experience happiness. Like, of course, those things are contagious. Being around people that are happy can help us feel good, but we don't need to sacrifice ourselves for them to locate some kind of happiness that is just handed to them or given to them, or is not even coming, it's coming from guilt. And then they're happy and then we're happy. It's not true, like authentic, created happiness from yourself or satisfaction. So when we start to locate it for ourselves and lead ourselves in a different way, then we start to become like, have an intuitive knowing of how we can serve people, when we can support them, when we kind of need to like actually just let people do their thing and walk their path and maybe be in a little bit of discomfort. And we can sit here from the sidelines and say, I'm here for you. I love you. I'm cheering you on. I've got you. You've got this, but not going in to take them out of the lesson that they're here to learn. So let's not let guilt stop us from anything. Not let guilt stop us from sustaining ourselves. Because also ask yourself, would you like to be served in that way? If people were showing up for you from a place of guilt, would you want to receive that? I wouldn't. No judgment if your answer is yes, but locate why. So this is your life. This is your life. Wherever you are right now, whatever you're experiencing, even if it's like magnificent, amazing, this is your life. If it's painful right now, this is your life. This is where you are. Let's take responsibility for that, because then and only then can you start to show up in a different way and start to co-create in a different way. Let's not live in victimhood. Let's not live in burdens. Let's not live in carrying the responsibility and the weight of the world on our shoulders. And if you feel it is your responsibility and you come by it honestly through life experience, I get that. And that's what I'm here to help you shift. That's why I work so deeply with trauma resolution, with nervous system rewiring. We rewire our nervous systems, we repattern our patterns, we actually reimagine our lives. So it's okay if you feel that way. It's okay if you truly think it's my responsibility, because look at all this evidence I have in my life of why it is my responsibility. If that is where you are, if that is your life right now, locate that. That's the starting point. We know where we are. And when we know where we are, we know where we can move from. So this is really about locating courage to look inwards. I mean, this whole course is, but this can be a really big piece of just like, where am I not taking responsibility here for my life, my goals, my dreams, my desires, and the way that I show up for them. And then with no judgment, locating where we are, we just get to shift it. So some journal prompts, some considerations for you. Can I love myself enough to take action? No matter how scary it is, can I love myself enough to take action? And then if I don't know what that action is, or I don't quite know how, it's like, yes, I can. And then what needs to happen to support me to do that? If the answer is no, beautiful, I can't right now. So what needs to happen for me to love myself enough to then take action? Can I love others enough to allow them to locate their own courage? Can I love each other? Can I love others enough to live their own journey? Sure, I can support it. Sure, I can like do the best I can as maybe if I'm any part of that discomfort, but it's not your job to not live your life so that you can play a role that keeps somebody else's calm. This is a lot of information. A lot of it can be triggering. I get that. And I also hope that a lot of it can be deeply inspirational to you, because it is so possible to start to take responsibility for your life. And it is a journey. We get to take responsibility back in like certain ways or in certain areas, and just start to go and titrate in a way that feels good to our nervous systems. So really, if the first step is about locating where you're at, and the next step is about taking a little bit of action towards that. Because the fear that you are here to take care of everybody else, that you're going to let people down when you expand, is a story. And your expansion will be deeply inspiring to the right people. The people will meet you there. Your fractal family, your fractal experiences will be drawn towards you as you evolve and change. And change can be uncomfortable, but that uncomfortable feeling doesn't mean that it's wrong. In the same way that because you're fearful about something, it doesn't mean that it's a sign that you shouldn't do something. So let this simmer, let this integrate, listen to it again, do the practices, and know that just receiving this transmission has already started to change things for you. Yes, I have some action plans for you, but contemplation and awareness and attuning to another way of seeing things, profound shifts happen that way on a cellular level that your mind cannot understand. The pattern recognition that we talked about. It's okay if the mind is like, what? Or this isn't even true, this can't be true. All the things that the mind, just notice the noise. But I trust you that what I am delivering to you is hitting you on a cellular level. There is vibration in the words that I'm carrying. There is energy behind the language I'm speaking to you that is being received in parts of you that will impact you simply by just being present in this space with me and listening to this. What doesn't align with you, let it go. If there's one nugget that works for you, just take that. It's all perfect. So can I love myself enough to take action, to take responsibility of this incredible opportunity to experience this life? Can I love myself enough? I think the answer is yes, because you're here, but a really beautiful question to keep contemplating. Okay, see you in the next module.